It's starting to get a little fishy, and not even Meryl Streep could save the absolute slog that this book was. It was so bad. I was listening to it and I was like, oh my gosh, 2025 New Year's resolution for Nova. Introduce yourself at the beginning of the video, girl. Hello friends, it is yet again that time of the year. We are wrapping up our reading for 2024. I have already watched so many best and worst books of this year. I love these videos, so I knew I had to make one myself. But I'm just going to combine. I'm just going to talk about the worst books and then I'm going to talk about the best books. I have some very hot takes in my worst books of the year. So please stick with me into my best books, even if you disagree with my worst books list. Because I know there are hot takes on this list, but it's okay. I don't really have a set number. I don't really have them ranked. The worst books, impossible to rank because so many of them are just so equally bad. But I do have, for best books, I have my top book, which if you've seen any of my other videos, you probably already know what that's going to be. This year, my reading goal was 150. I think it was 175, and then I changed it because I started school again. But it was 150, and I actually blew it out of the park. I did 161 books. I'm going to have a more difficult workload for school going into 2025, so I think my new reading goal for that year is going to have to be only 100, but I'm still hopeful. I'm still going to try to keep up with my channel as much as I can. I'm probably only going to be doing one video a month. But yeah, I think that's all the exposition needed to get into these lists of best and worst books of 2024. So, where to start? I really threw this list together. They're not in any order. They're not numbered. They're not there's nothing going on. I just am picking out what I want to talk about. Oh, I have honorable mentions for things that almost made it on the worst list. So I think I'm going to start there before I talk about the actual worst books. Honorable mentions for the worst of the worst that I read in 2024. Worst being they were either the most disappointing to me, or I didn't like the ideology that was being pushed, or I didn't get the hype of this book. Worst, not necessarily just, oh, these were the worst written books. That would have been a completely different list. So this list is, it's very nuanced. There's a lot of conditions and stuff for something to be put on this list. So I need to say that. But starting off with honorable mentions for things that were just almost the worst. Starting off very strong with arguably my most anticipated book of this year, A Dark and Drowning Tide by Allison Saft. Girl, let me just say, it's really fishy. It's starting to get a little fishy when you've already been accused of writing a colonizer romance, and then this book ends with a very bizarre pro-colonization message. I don't really care to get into the specifics of the book. I could criticize a lot, but I'm just going to leave it at that. It's funny because Allison Saft is on my best list as well, but I'm just confused at this point. I was very much on the hype train, and I think that with A Dark and Drowning Tide being what it was, I think I'm not on the hype train going into 2025. So you lost one, Allison Saft, and I'm sorry for that, but girl, get your messaging right, okay? Ooh, okay, so this is also probably very controversial, but an honorable mention, almost the worst book of the books that I've read this year, Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. This really should be a book that I liked, and I read it, I listened to it, and not even Meryl Streep could save the absolute slog that this book was. It was so boring. It was so boring. I don't understand what the point of this was at all. I did not find anything compelling. Actually, that's a lie. The setting is the only thing out of this entire book that I found compelling. They're like, what was it? Like a cherry orchard? The only compelling thing. I don't understand why this book was so popular. It was boring. Almost the worst. It's so close to being one of the worst. The Girls We Sent Away by Megan Church, I believe. Let me double check that. Yes, I am right. This was really bad. And honestly, it's so close to being on the list of the worst. It's supposed to be about a girl who gets pregnant and is sent away to a home to have the baby and everything, kind of these wayward girls' homes. And it just ended up not saying anything about that. It took such an interesting setting that has contrary to a lot of other things, not been beaten to death in the literary sphere. I think there could be so many books with this setting and addressing this subject matter, and we just haven't seen that yet. I think it's an untapped resource for some really hard-hitting books, and this was not a great start. It was not a great start to that niche. It was so self-righteous in a really bizarre way. The main character we follow one girl the whole time, and it was just she was so self-righteous and constantly was thinking of herself as smarter and better than the other girls around her, but was also at the same time the most dumb and the most naive. So you just really did not like her. And then it just it fell apart. There was no plot. It was not good. Okay. And last for honorable mentions, this is a thriller that was not a thriller. It was the most pointless book of all time, Bye Baby by Carola Lovering. Carola, that's a pretty name. Terrible book. I do not understand what the point of I don't know why this book was written. It sets up this best friend relationship, and the best friend steals the other best friend's baby. And you know that right off the bat. And so when it kind of gets to the narrative in which she does this, you're expecting there to be some kind of reason or some kind of twist or why did this happen? Nothing. And it doesn't wrap up in any satisfying way either. There's literally 0 points are made in this book. And I really don't even know what the purpose of it was, honestly. So those are my honorable mentions. Now getting into my actual worst of the worst list. First, right off the bat, easy, Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. Oh my gosh. I do not understand people who like this book. I don't understand how you could have read this book and not just been infuriated. It was so strange. It's supposed to be this exploration of, religious trauma and stuff, right? And it does not really deliver on that. We're following this church that follows Satan, but it mirrors Catholicism. And it just the religion itself doesn't make sense. And that's really what set it off to just be not good. And then Satan's there and he goes on this whole anti-capitalism rant, and it's very strange. I'm pretty sure Satan would be pro-capitalism, right? He would be pro destruction and evil and greed and everything, right? So it was so weird, and I was what is this even trying to do? It was bad, and I did not like it. So that is easily on this list. After that, oh my god, this maybe is the worst of the worst. This book made me so angry. Okay. Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes was somehow the most boring, long. It was so long. It was so boring. It was such a slog. And I think that what pisses me off about it being like that, and makes me feel more angry towards the book versus apathetic, is it has such a good premise that it just does not deliver on at all. It's also just very much written by a man. It very much feels that way just in the way that he writes about the women in the book. And wow, yeah, so incredibly long. I was reading the audiobook and I just kept zoning out because I was I do not care about any of that. Like, what is all of this information? It's pointless. So truly, that is a contender for the worst of the worst for my year, honestly. Okay, I'm coming in real hot. I'm coming in real hot with a hot take because, you know, I love horror, okay, as a genre. I do not like Stephen King. And I know that is so controversial. Like, so many people love him, and I really just don't understand it. I think that some of the things he writes in his book are just too problematic for me, and I can't do it. But he won the Goodreads choice last year. I don't want to talk about this year yet. Please do not make me talk about this year yet. Oh my God. He won with Holly by Stephen King. So bad. Okay. I stand by what I said about it originally. I stand by the fact that singular episodes of Criminal Minds have more developed and compelling serial killers than this book had. This book was, as I have said before, more about COVID and poetry and examining poetry and stuff than it was about anything else. And just very weird things. I don't like the way he wrote from like a young woman of color's perspective and gave her perspective about racism. Like, I was like, maybe don't do that. Like, just very strange. And I can feel my blood pressure rising as I talk about it. It was so bad. Dang, I'm going to get mad. There's too many things on this list that is going to make me so mad. Okay. The next one, also, truly, actually, this is probably the worst book of the year. Like, actually, like, looking at my list now, it's so bad. The Fury by Alex Michaelides, or whatever his last name is. I don't know how to say it. You know, that TikTok famous author. The Fury was so incredibly insufferable. It was like male protagonist thinking that he is so intelligent and analytical and meta, right? And like it was atrocious. It was terrible writing. There were like 7 twists, and none of them were necessary. Sometimes we would just go into a scene, and then he'd be like, "Oh, actually, that didn't happen. That was like in my brain, and like I just like wrote it down," or like something. Like it was so bad. I was listening to it and I was like, like what is going on? It was atrocious. Please. No more. I can't. The twist for twisting sake, awful. Please, no more. And I gotta do it. I gotta do it to you. I'm sorry. I gotta do it to you. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I will never understand the hype. I am incapable of understanding what is interesting about this book for anyone, because it is so half-baked. It is so like you put like your little slop into the Easy Bake Oven and it goes through the Easy Bake Oven and it comes out and it's like, it's barely even baked. Like it's still like mushified, but you're like scooping it up and eating it. That's how I feel about y'all that gave this book 5 stars. I don't know how to be polite about it anymore, because I just, like, the romance was not compelling. The world, not compelling. Half-baked, not compelling. The characters, half-baked, barely baked, not even baked. They're still the separate ingredients. Like, not compelling. Like, there is nothing in this book that was interesting to me. And I am so relieved that the second one didn't like win any awards or any, like it didn't win a Goodreads award or anything, so I do not have to feel obligated to read it. I can't do it anymore. The only way that I can see this book as a good thing is, I think that for people who don't read a lot, it is very easily consumable as a segue to get them into reading better things. Because, so bad, and I don't care anymore. I will shout it from the rooftops. I don't care. Dang, I have some really good ones on this list. Next, no surprise if you've seen my channel, even as you're watching this video, if you've peered at my channel, I have an over hour-long Annie Bot rant video that I wish I had pared down even more from being that long, but I was so mad about it. There was just So much to unpack. Sierra Greer, you are at the top of my no-no list. Going into 2025, I am not tolerating books that are just pseudo-feminism. I will not tolerate it. This book was so bizarre. I am so relieved. I just watched the Plant-Based Bride talk about this book. Literally, she said the exact same thing, much more eloquently and much more concisely in her video that I said in my rant review. There is so much weird ideological and conservative skewing ideology put in this book about the embryos and some very odd things that I find to be in poor taste because I don't think that it has any place in this story. Additionally, this relationship between the two main characters is so awful. If this is, in any way, if you read this and you think that this is not that bad, I hope for you that you find resources to see how bad it is, because there was so much disgusting abuse put into this book and then justified by the author by the end of the book. I cannot believe that I spent this book getting a attempted Doug redemption arc. He's not redeemable. Spoiler alert. He's not redeemable. Yeah, I could harp on this forever because I hope that people can see what I'm talking about or what another creator is talking about. Just how harmful and how subtly harmful some of the stuff in this book was. I have zero respect for this author, truly, because I find it so gross. So that also definitely a contender for worst of the worst, but do you see what I mean? Do you see how so many of these are the worst of the worst? So it's so hard for me to pinpoint something specific. And in a similar vein, I am so annoyed at this author, whoever wrote this. Hold on, I have to find her name. I am so annoyed at you, Claire Swinarski, for tricking me into reading your book, thinking that I was getting a wholesome story. The Funeral Ladies of Ellery County. Doesn't that just sound so wholesome? It sounds like a cozy little Hallmark movie, and that is what I was looking for, and I will never forgive you for tricking me into reading all of your Christian conservative propaganda. I don't understand how you can write something like this and literally write your characters who are religious so hypocritically, pointing out so much of their hypocrisy and then thinking that these are characters that we should root for and I don't get it. I also have a rant review about this. There's too much I could say about this. We demonize mental health. We try to justify drinking, alcoholism and drinking and driving and stuff like that. There is so much hypocrisy baked into this book. It's all these religious ladies looking down their noses at everyone else, but then, like I just said, literally trying to justify alcohol abuse. So it is extremely bizarre. Made me so mad. I think this was my first rant review, and it was so impromptu because I just needed to get out into the world how terrible this was. So there you go. Please don't read this. Go watch my video, sure, if you want to know. But this is a situation just like Sierra Greer where it's I don't want this author to get any more attention than they already have, right? So that's that. And then two kind of more subtle ones. They honestly could be more honorable mentions, but I put them on here. The Clinic. Oh my gosh, can we please stop completely misunderstanding psychopathy? Can we stop pushing stereotypes about these different personality disorders and stuff? There's no reason that the main twist of this book just revolves around a myth about this certain mental illness. It's very strange. I don't know how this would get published in the year of 2024, truly. Because this was a release this year. It's by Kate Quinn. It's based in such falsehood that I can't believe anybody would publish this as if it has any merit, if that makes sense. And then my last one for the worst of 2024 is The Widow's Guide to Dead Bastards by Jessica Waite. The more that I think about this book, the more off-putting I find it. I always want to respect people who write their own stories. This is a memoir. I always want to put respect on their name for that reason and that reason alone, because this is like a real human being. But I really hope for her that she can read this book back and see how just misogynistic she is. I despise the way that she writes about women in this book, the way that she writes about her own mother. She recounts this story where her dad does something awful, and she blames more blame is put on her mother for having the girls around the thing that her dad did. So it's like that. It's the way that she writes about her mother, the way that she writes about her deceased husband's affair partner. She literally at one point stalks and harasses and threatens this woman and acts in the book as if this is some triumphant moment for her. So at the same time that we have these really misogynistic narratives going on, we also have her trying to justify the awful, abusive, and adulterous things that her husband did to her and her son. And it's just so crazy to watch this woman try to bend over backwards to justify his behavior and then demonize any woman who does anything ever in this book, literally. I hope she can grow from reading this back and maybe reading reviews who say something similar to what I'm saying right now, because very icky. It just left me feeling, ugh, And it's I feel bad for you that you lost your husband and everything, but when you're writing such nasty stuff, it makes it hard for me to get your perspective and feel bad for you and understand where you're coming from. Because it just, to me, it's so basic. Evaluate, right? I don't know. I don't get it. But that's it. That is my list for the worst of 2024. I am so happy to be leaving these books in this year and moving on to better things for next year. That being said, a lot of those books, actually more of the worst books that I read more at the beginning of this year, and my year has really, really improved. And I've read some amazing things this year, and just a lot more good things this year than the bad, I would say. I want to give a few honorable mentions. These are things that it was so close to being one of the best books that I read this year. It was so close, but for one reason or another, honestly, for a whole variety of reasons, it just doesn't make that list. First of those would be The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. I was very impressed by this book. I think I gave it 5 stars. And the reason that I want to shout this out is because it did not get nominated for Goodreads Award. It didn't, I haven't really seen anybody talking about this as much. And that is a shame to me, because I have a lot of respect for her, because her books literally just keep getting better and better. Her first couple books, 3 stars for me. I think the one last year, it was 4 stars for me. And then this one, 5 stars, easily. It was a great thriller mystery thing. And because of that, I have to say something about it, because I really, I love that for her. I love to see the improvement. I also have to say this book, I don't feel right about putting it on my best books this year, because it's not that this was a phenomenal book all on its own. It just kind of hit me in a particular way, and I really, really liked it. Whale Fall by Elizabeth O'Connor. It is a shorter coming-of-age novel. It's written in kind of a quirky, kind of experimental way. And I think I love the setting. I loved the just the vibe, the overall vibe and everything. I had a great time reading this book. It has a beautiful cover. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. I want to buy it actually for myself, because yeah, it hit me. Oh my God. I literally just realized that I haven't even introduced myself. Oh my gosh. 2025 New Year's resolution for Nova. introduce yourself at the beginning of the video, girl. It's not that hard. Oh my gosh, why am I like this? I'm Nova. This is Off My Rocker reading. It doesn't matter anymore. We're like 40 minutes into the video. Anyway, gosh. And then 2 books that kind of have the same vibe, actually, for my last honorable mentions. Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. I found the ending to be not super satisfactory, which is the only reason why it's not on one of my best books. I think that the ending just could have been a little bit stronger one way or another, and but had such great characters and really funny dialogue. I really did enjoy this. This is the first book that I've read by her. I didn't read the other one, but I liked it a lot. And then also a book that I do not see anyone talking about. Sorry, I'm looking up the author. I don't remember. I do not see anyone talking about this book, and it is such a shame because I know that the like hot girl book girlies would love this book. Okay, it's The Nude by C. Michelle Lindley. So good, okay? Just like, she's in Greece. She's an art historian. It's about this sculpture, but it's also about this like romance and like, oh my God, like, but it's also about like her destructive tendencies and everything. And just, ooh, it was so good. It was a great end of summer read. It would be a great beach read, I feel like. Yeah, just, it was so good. I don't know. Now I'm like, it probably should just be on my list of like best books. I don't know why I put it here instead. So just kidding. That was my first of the best books that I've read this year because I really did love it. I really loved it. But then getting into some other ones, I'm going to try to be a little quicker with these ones because I feel like I kind of have a lot. But some of them I don't have a ton to say about anyway. I'll say first Allison Saft because I loved A Far Wilder Magic, which I read at the beginning of this year. So I am disappointed, to say the least, at how the trajectory of her literary career has gone this year, because I've heard not good things about one of her other romances, and then obviously A Dark and Drowning Tide was just so bad. So while I love this book, and I do plan on purchasing this book and owning this book, like I said, I don't know if I can be on the hype train for her anymore. Also, on my best books for this year, The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. I always want to call her Kristen. Crystal Sutherland. I really liked her House of Hollows or whatever it was called, but this was even better. It was so good. It has like the Craft vibes, kind of dark academia, young female witches and everything. It was really, really good. I loved all of the characters and their interactions and everything. I was a big fan of this. It was really good. And I'm glad that it is so beloved and that I've heard so many good things about it because I really do think that she deserves it and it definitely deserves it. I'm like trying to like decide in what order to talk about these in. Oh, this one is definitely on here. Not only was it a 5-star read, but it surprised me. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. Crazy that it was written by a man. Actually crazy that it was written by a man just to begin with because the woman characters are so great. And it's sapphic as well. And that is also just, it's like so great. It is just so unique. Sometimes I read things and I'm like, how did this person like think of that out of their own brains, you know? And that is the case for this for sure. Just the way that the monster girl like exists and like is just so interesting and unique. Yeah, I think it's unique. It's like unique in the way that it's told. It's unique in its like magic and stuff, but it's also just unique kind of in its like setting and everything and like the vibes of the setting and all of that. Like, I don't know. It really blew me away. It just was so much better than I was expecting it to be. Yeah, it was also just very sweet. Like, oh my gosh, like, it was really good. It's something I also think that I will own. That probably goes for most of these books, like on the best books list, because I tend to buy the things that I love the most. So yeah, that for sure. It was just really good. I recommend it. I can't even explain it any more than I have. And I wouldn't want to, because I didn't really know that much going in. So you should just go into it kind of blind, honestly. After that, I'll say what has become actually one of my new favorite series. The first book is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and it's like the Ernest Cunningham mystery series by Benjamin Stevenson. I love like cozy, like Agatha Christie type mysteries and stuff. I love a whodunit. That is like one of my favorite type of books, right? And type of plots and everything. And these are just so good. I feel like too often I'm let down by books that I read like that. And yeah, this series, not a letdown at all. It is so witty, and I love the characters. It's so witty. I love the narration. I love the writing. It is just, it's very clever. It's very in the plot and everything and the way things come together. It is very clever. I just love it. I know it's a couple days after Christmas right now as I'm filming this video, and I actually bought the third book because it's like a Christmas mystery, and I guarantee that I will read the entirety of it before this video even comes out, because yeah, I just love them, and they really, like, they grip me, and I'm a big fan. It is definitely, yeah, my new favorite series for that genre. Oh, this is a good one. Well, duh. Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis was so good. It was also, yeah, just one of my favorites for this year. It's a cozy sci-fi. I would say it leans into more like sci-fi than fantasy, but like, you know, a little bit of both. It was so good. I can't believe that more people haven't read it. Like, it only has 2,500 ratings on Goodreads, and I just can't believe that, because I think it's like, it was just so good. It was so cozy. I love the setting. We're on this like ship that is like a hotel, like it's a floating hotel, and it's it's like super cozy, but there's also kind of this like more intense like sci-fi mystery thrillery element going on. Each chapter is told from the perspective of a different person that's on this ship at this time, and it just, yeah, I don't know, the ending too, like, it just, yeah, I really loved it. I've been excited I've had this in my back pocket. Like, I knew that this was going to show up in this video at the end of the year in my best books, because it was just easy 5 stars for me. I loved it. I also have to say, When Among Crows by freaking what's-her-face? Veronica Roth, duh. I just really loved When Among Crows. This was, it's short, it's like a novella, but it incorporates like Polish folklore, and I'm Polish, so I really loved that. And I just thought that it really managed to build a really great world and magic system in a very short novel. And it really, I left it wanting more of it because it was so good. And I liked the characters and everything. This was like so strong. And it's, other than Divergent, it's like the only thing that I've read by her. And I just was like really impressed with I just did not know she could. Also, I have to say on this list, Penance by Eliza Clark. I'm a little late to the hype surrounding that. That was more of a last year hype. I don't know why I put it off for as long as I did, because it is right up my alley, and I'm so glad that I read it. It was really good. I loved just the discussions about true crime that it starts to explore, and I just thought the writing was so good and interesting. I think I've read something else by her. She wrote Boy Parts. I've been meaning to read that for months, but I haven't yet. But yeah, this was really good, and it just deserves to be on this list. But that's kind of all I have to say about it. I also have to put A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This book is not getting the love that it deserves. I thought this was one of her best books, actually, in my opinion. I cried at the end of this book. I got teary at the end of this book because I loved T. Kingfisher just makes such endearing characters and realistic characters. And at the end of this book, it's we knew what was going to continue to happen to these characters, but I loved them so much that I was I want to see that happen. And it's I don't know, there's T. Kingfisher's just so great because there's just enough
elements of like cozy and funny, but there's also like horror. And I think that she really struck that balance perfectly in this book, where some of her other books skew a little too far one way or the other. This was just, it was so good. I loved it. It's another one that like, I will buy this. Like, I loved it. Two more before the magnum opus. I have to say, The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. Insane. Mind-blowing. I also read The Girl from Raw Blood. That one was not as strong, but still, like, it took too long to get to the end, but once we got to the end, oh my gosh, what a gut punch. And I think that is what I wait for in her books at this point, is like, I wait for the gut punch. And like, both of these books did that for me. If you don't mind sticking it out for like the Girl from Raw Blood, like, it's long and it's too long, but wow, oh my gosh, so impactful at that end, so impactful. And Catriona Ward is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors, because I'm blown away, and I love to have my brain just like melted by the end of a book, and that is what she does. So I just started Little Eve, and I will probably read all of her books like soon, and I might make a video about her actually, because just so good.
And then the last one before I name my favorite book of the year. This is close though. I mean, not close, actually, not really at all, but it is like extremely good. We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver, I don't know. Another brain melting book. I talk about it more in my like spooky season wrap up video. But I loved this. I thought it was so good. I love a time bendy cosmic horror type book, and it really did it for me. I loved the main couple and the ending. Like, so good. I cannot believe that this was a debut. But that's kind of all I have to say about it. I really just like, you should listen to this book or read this book. Like, just do it. Like, it's really like, just go into it. Like, you don't even need to look at what it's about. Just go into it. It's crazy. But easily the best book that I have read in 2024 was I Cheerfully Refuse by Leif Enger. I still don't know how to pronounce it. 1 second. I already bought it. It's already on my shelf. Because this was just, I couldn't match it. Wow. I couldn't match it today. I literally do not have the words to adequately communicate like how much this book impacted me, how poignant it was, how much truly I wept at the end of this book. Like, just, this was so beautiful. And in a world right now where I think we get a lot of, not a lot, but I think more and more very shallow books and shallow writing is what is popular, and now I don't even want to say that, because I don't want to put other things down. It's just that I find that it is rare to be like so touched at my very core reading words that another person wrote. I think that it's just something that I haven't experienced in a long time. I think that it's rare. And yeah, I don't want to put other things down. It's just that I want to express how beautiful and poignant and necessary this book and these words are. I love these characters. I love this story, as horrible as it is, and how much of like in the mirror I feel like I'm looking when I read this story that's about like not far in the future America, and it is so apocalyptic and dystopian, but yet so realistic and scary because of that. It's so wonderful to just be reminded of the endurance of humanity and of literature and of hope and love and community. This is just, it is so beautiful. I encourage anyone who sees this video to read this book. It is one of the best things I've ever read in my entire life. Really, truly. And it will never not make me cry. And I also, like, I don't reread books. I already want to read this again. I am ending this year exactly how I thought I would be right after I finished this book. I knew that it was going to be my top book. I can't imagine anything being better. So, yeah, thank you to this author for sharing this. I am truly forever changed by it. And sorry, gosh, to end this like so emotionally, but I knew that's what was going to happen. I cried when I talked about it the first time. I just watched The Plant-Based Bride cry about it, and wow, like me, you know, like yeah. Please do not discount this book. It takes a little bit to get into. It's a little dense, yes, but it is just incredible, and deserves so much more hype than it has received. That is, I cheerfully refuse. That is my 2024. Yeah. Wow. I'm very excited to begin another reading year. I'm very excited to begin the second year of my channel. That is crazy. I can't believe that it was January. It was January of this year that I started. So yeah, that is just really cool. And even though I need to restructure a little bit because of school, it's a wonderful feeling. I love doing these videos. I have loved this year. If you are a new friend watching this video, I hope that you will subscribe and hang out with me more, or if you want to connect with me on my social medias, they're always in the description. I want to connect with people. That's really all I want. So yeah, please do that if you feel compelled. If you are a friend who has been here with me this whole year, or part of this year, thank you. I love you. Yeah, it's just been a great time. I love doing this. So that's really... yeah, I think that is it, though. Please let me know if you like any of these, if you hate any of these. Also, I would love to know. Let me know what your favorite book of the year was. I will absolutely add it to my list for next year. And, yeah, I think that is about it. So, bye.